This video is going to be very different than what I normally do. I never voice any of my videos. The reason I'm voicing this one is because I want to talk about shoulder swapping in games. Specifically how there are very few games these days that allow you to swap shoulders, meaning move the camera from one side of the character to the other in a third person game, as much as I feel you should be able to. If they allow you to swap shoulders at all, it's often only while aiming your gun. Examples of this are The Last of Us, which is what you're looking at, The Last of Us Part 2. Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy is another one. I can't remember if the old Uncharted games allow you to swap shoulders outside of aiming. Another game is The Division by Ubisoft. And let me go ahead and play the video. You can see how limiting it is. Like, you can see very well to the right of my character here as I'm moving. But if I want to look to the left, if I want to look around this corner, my visibility is almost at the edge of the screen, unless I'm using my gun and swapping with the cross button. You can imagine how limiting that can be in a stealth action game like this, where you're frequently in these types of situations where you're surrounded by threats as you're moving around the world, and you need to be able to know what is around these corners. And the thing is, they could have easily allowed you to swap shoulders at all times by simply assigning the shoulder swap to the R3 button, which is the right trigger. You click it down. What they use the right trigger for is the flashlight, but they could have moved that over to the L3 button, the left trigger. And then the what they use the left trigger for is highlighting points of interest. For example, when your character sees something curious in the distance, a button prompt for L3 will appear on your screen, and then if you press that, the camera may zoom in, and then your character will talk about that point of interest. But those moments are very infrequent. They always happen outside of the combat and outside of the encounters. So what they could have done is just assign the points of interest to the triangle button instead of L3. And because of how infrequent those points of interest are, and because they always happen in those quieter moments, assigning it to the triangle button would not have interfered with what the triangle button normally does. I can't remember right now what it normally does. But yeah, just to reiterate, what they could have done is, instead of having you swap shoulders by aiming and then pressing square, what they could have done is just assign it to R3, allowing you to swap shoulders at all times. Then assign the flashlight to L3 and assigned the points of interest to triangle. So now what I want to do is show you one of my old Max Payne 3 clips. I uploaded this one as part of a montage a few years ago. And I'm using this just to show you how frequently I swap shoulders when I have that option without even thinking about it. Honestly, I swap shoulders more than I have to, more than probably most people. But hopefully it gives you an idea of how useful it can be. And it kind of gives you an idea of where I'm coming from and wanting to be able to swap shoulders at all times in third person shooters and third person stealth action games. As we go, I'm gonna count the number of times that I swap the shoulder. I have it assigned. I'm using a mouse and keyboard, or I should say I used a mouse and keyboard back when I still played Max Payne 3, and I had the shoulder swap assigned to the Z key, Z as in Z, or Z as in Zulu on the keyboard. I think it's by default assigned to H on the keyboard, but that's too far away from WASD, the movement keys, for my liking. So let me go ahead and play the video. First shoulder swap. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that was 16 shoulder swaps over, I believe, 87 seconds. I hope this video will convince a few of my viewers how helpful shoulder swapping is in being able to see around your environment as you're moving. I really don't understand why developers like Naughty Dog and Ubisoft only allow you to swap shoulders while aiming your weapon. I just remember that Ubisoft's Watch Dogs is another one that does this, as is Red Dead Redemption 2. But anyway, I want to thank you for watching, especially those who have been subscribed to my channel for a few years and have never heard me say thanks.